All right. Good morning, everyone, here from Brisbane in Australia. Well, I'm from Chinchilla, but welcome to Out of the Fog, the Trauma Network produced by myself here at KR Country Coaching. And today we have Baba Sam, who's also known as the Miracle Man, all the way from America. Are you in New York, Baba Sam?
Yeah, I'm in New York City. Yeah,
Oh,
pleasure to be
amazing.
with you today.
Yeah. So good to have you. Thank you so much for coming. Before we begin, I'm just going to let the viewers know that obviously viewer discretion is advised. I know that sometimes we can delve into some topics that can be pretty tender, vulnerable. So if any time you are triggered, for here in Australia, we do have the helplines that you can refer to. So we have Lifeline, which is 1311 14, Beyond Blue 1300 224 636, and the men's line, which is 1300 789 978. Baba Sam, do you have any organized, like for anyone that might be, viewing from America or even later on, is there anywhere that they can turn to reach out for help if need be?
Yeah, there's a suicide prevention line, but I really don't know what that number is.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No worries at all. So what I might do is after this, I might just put that into the comments. I know, Baba Sam, I probably caught you kind of unaware on that one, so I do apologize. I just thought of it actually because I had someone else on a couple of weeks back, and I probably should have done the same thing. So that's all right. We will continue to live and learn and do the thing. So Baba Sam, introduce yourself for us, please.
Yeah, so I'm called Baba Sam. They call me the Miracle Man because I was sick and disabled for 38 years. It all began at the age 6 when I was run over by a van. Then I went through high school and grade school as an undiagnosed bipolar because they actually can show the correlation today between the head trauma of children and bipolar. So at
Mm,
that time when I had that injury, they didn't realize that connection. So, I was going through life as an undiagnosed bipolar, so that was very challenging. Then I was officially diagnosed when I was suicidal in my 20s. And I had a lot of health challenges besides the bipolar. The chronic migraines I had psoriasis, that itchy skin disease on a third of my body. Then that psoriasis got into my joints. So I had psoriatic arthritis. Then eventually, at age 37, I lost the ability to walk from multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis affects the myelin sheath in the nerves in the brain, so it feels like you're constantly being short circuited. And that
mm,
is the number one cause of disability among young adults is multiple sclerosis. Well, today I have none of those ailments. I'm a true medical miracle. I have none of these. I saw my neurologist one last time after my healing. So I had the scans were clean, my blood work was clean. He did a physical exam, and all he saw was a non-specific hand tremor that everyone says has. Then he proceeded to question me for 45 minutes trying to
yeah.
quantify what I did
Yeah.
because he had no answers that defied logic.
Mm. Absolutely. Wow. It's absolutely amazing. Okay. So, one of the reasons why I was so excited when you and I connected and I heard a bit of your story was because I'm someone who is very passionate when it comes to the neuro side of the field, like neuroscience, psychology, all that sort of stuff, right? And I'm someone who loves people like, have you heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So he's someone who very much is in these fields. And I know that, it's definitely looked upon as a miracle. On the other side, though, I watch on your posts and I really want to talk about your mindset. So going back to someone who had been diagnosed, or sorry, missed, not even diagnosed yet until later on with bipolar. I had someone very close to me who had bipolar, and I understand the ups and downs and what comes with that. So,
Mhm.
as someone who was young, a male, right? Because let's be honest, males definitely, I think males suffer from more stigma these days, and always have, not just these days, always have. It's something that's always kind of stood by. So, in those days, how were you maneuvering all of that, including not being able to walk, being in a wheelchair? How was that affecting your mental health?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Yeah, bipolar, your moods are really all over the place.
Mm.
You know, I was considered a rapid cycler, but I was an extreme rapid cycler. I can be
Yeah.
completely manic 1 hour, and next hour can be completely depressed and suicidal. I was really unstable, and it
Yeah.
took my doctors about 5 years to get my stability where I wasn't suicidal, or I was pretty much flatline. But it took 5 years to get there, and a few hospital stays because once in a while I was getting suicidal and nearly took my life twice. And because I believed all this mental chatter, all these mental stories that life is too hard, too
Mm.
difficult, we get into this mindset. And when you're really dealing with that, there's really no escaping that really loud voice that life is too hard, too difficult. So you get really consumed in this darkness of the mind. So I
Mm.
was really dealing with that. So actually, I saw like multiple sclerosis was really a blessing at that time because I
Mm.
could no longer be a bipolar manic running around all over the place. I simply lost that ability to run around and be manicky. So it
Mm.
really forced me to deal with me, but I wasn't even aware that I needed to be dealt with. I didn't realize that, I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I have a
Mm.
body, but I'm not my body. I didn't
Yeah.
realize any of that. I was
Mm.
completely consumed. I am bipolar. I have multiple sclerosis. I have all these ailments, and I was that. I had no space between my thoughts and who I really am.
Mm. Sorry, carry on.
So that's where I really discovered, like I always had this belief system, and we hear this from everyone when you have all these diseases, and you find literally thousands upon thousands of articles talking about
Mm.
how you're incurable, how you're going to live with this rest of your life, how you're going to take all this medicine. When I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, the 10-year prognosis was not good. A lot of people at that time, end up in wheelchairs or nursing
Mm.
homes or whatever it may be. So I was really consumed in those thoughts, and I never thought I could walk away from all of this. So it was really a surprise because I was never ever focused on my health. That was too big of a leap for my mind to accept. It was never a healing journey for me because it was impossible. And
Yeah.
that's what I really see for a lot of people is they're in this healing journey, and they'll stay in that healing journey because they're trying to get well, they're trying to get better. But it actually creates what I call a mental interference. It's really getting in the way of our true essence, that of spirit, of soul, whatever that is for you. So that's
Mm.
why I really see today all these thoughts as really, a head trash. I really call it head trash. We have
Mm.
all these negative stories that I call head trash. We need to throw away those. We need to step away from that voice, this really loud mental voice, and really find that deeper essence within us. That's why I really try to help people because like I said, I was never in this healing journey, but I
Yeah.
simply read about meditation one day.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of meditation was inner peace. And like, I
Mhm.
need inner peace because I was completely stressed out with life, completely overwhelmed. I was like, I need inner peace.
Yeah.
So that was my quest, was inner peace. It was never healing. I just
Mm.
wanted peace. That was my focus. So this
Wow.
book that I read about, it only had 2 pages on meditation, which was really good because I had a bipolar OCD brain. If you
Mm.
told me there was rules to meditation, am I sitting properly? Am I holding my hands properly? Am I breathing properly? I would
Yes.
have never escaped the mind. I've been too, because I was addicted to the rules too, the requirements, and that I'm glad I didn't have those.
Mm.
It would just kept me in my mental traps. So it was really learning. Okay, so when I sit down for meditation, I'm under the impression meditation means you stop thinking. That was always my impression. Means meditation, you stop thinking. So
Mm.
when I was sitting meditation, but basically it was just sitting still, relaxing. So when the mind would start going, what the mind does, the mind's constantly chattering. So when the mind would start thinking, I'd be like, stop thinking, mind chatting, stop thinking. And then I realized, then after a week, I was only sitting 5 minutes a day.
Oh,
So I realized I was chasing thoughts with more thoughts, mind thinking, stop thinking, more thinking, mind.
that's
And
right.
I was caught in this loop. Then I was like, wait a second, wait a second. I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. This
Mm.
was a huge epiphany for me to realize I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts.
Yeah.
And even when I was seeing my psychiatrist for 17, 18 years, he never once said to me, why are you taking your thoughts as truth?
Mm.
He never asked me that question, why are your thoughts true?
Mm.
So once I had that space that like, oh, I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts.
Mm.
Well, if I'm not my thoughts, who am I? Because I was completely identified with my thoughts, my ailments, my belief systems, everything was my identity. So now I was sitting with that question, who am I?
Mm.
And so I just was sitting there still, but this time I switched my practice from 5 minutes a day to 5 minutes twice a day, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. So I was sitting there with this question for about 2 or 3 weeks of who am I? So now I changed my practice now. So when the mind would start thinking, I would just come back to my feet. So I was learning to become present, but it wasn't aware that's what I was doing. So
Mm.
when the mind would start thinking, I learned to be present. So that was my practice. So one evening after a meditation, I simply heard a voice say, perfect spirit. I'm like, that's it. My spirit is perfect, pure, whatever you wish to call it.
Mm.
Then I simply knew that I wasn't my damaged body and mind. I knew myself as a perfect spirit. Then I just had this deep, deep sense of peace, a knowing that all is well, and all sense of fear about my health was simply gone. I knew it was all over after hearing that voice. So after I heard that voice, the mind got very quiet. And so like my intuitive voice came online to do this, to do that. And I was
Mm.
just trusting that voice. I didn't have any doubts. It was like I was just following that voice. So the voice would say, do yoga. So my mind would protest on that. You can't do yoga. You're not flexible. Your balance is terrible. And all these stories. I ignored that voice. I just followed this deeper inner voice.
Mm.
So it was like, do yoga. Okay, I signed up for a yoga class. Yeah, I was tipsy in the beginning, falling over. It wasn't a pretty sight at all, but I stuck with
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
6 months later, I didn't need a cane anymore. My balance was fine. And at
Wow.
this point, I was really tapering off my medicines because
Mm.
I was taking 13 daily medications. I was on a lot of stuff. I had a lot of issues,
Yeah.
but I was tapering my medicines. This wasn't with the advice of doctors. This was
Mm.
just following my own instincts, my own intuition. Like I said, I really trusted that voice. There
Mm.
was no doubts. I just had this deep sense that all is well. And I kept following that voice. But there was a little bit of doubt that came in at one time when it was for my MS injectable for multiple sclerosis. I had to give myself a needle every day. So when it came to get off this medicine, I paused a little bit. I was really starting to second guess myself when it came off this medicine, because it was like, well, it took me a long time to get onto this. Do I really want to stop this? And the mind was playing those games the mind plays. But
Yeah.
there's a rare side effect that comes with this medicine. And taking this medicine for 6, 7 years at this point,
Long
and I
time.
never had this side effect, never had it. Well, when it was time to take this MS medicine, I got that side effect for the first time. The shortness of breath, the tightness of the chest, the rapid heartbeat, I got that. It was like,
Right.
wow, that's strange.
Mm.
But it's like, well, maybe it's just a one off. So I tried again the next day. The same exact thing happened again.
Mm.
That's like, all right, it is time for me to get off this medicine. I literally
Yeah.
can't take it anymore because of the side effects. So
Mm.
the universe forced my hand into that, yep, we're stopping the MS medicine. We're stopping everything. So it took about 14, 15 months to get off all the medicine and for the body to completely recover. So that's when I made that last neurologist appointment, and just to get do all the blood work, all the scans and all that stuff. And just wanted to see what his opinion of it was. And he was
Yeah.
just puzzled. And I saw the final slip was multiple sclerosis in remission. But I simply knew I didn't have it anymore. It was not a remission. But all the people around me were saying, well, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. Well, it's been about 13 plus years. Nothing has come back. I'm still not taking medicine, not seeing doctors. The
Mm.
body is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Baba Sam, so you're walking now?
Yeah, I have no health issues whatsoever.
Why? What? That this is amazing. Well, you know what? I know that and I'm sure that you do in the work that you do, right? You meet these people that are very hesitant to accept these types of transformations. I believe, now I'm someone who offers breath work and meditation here in our country town, and I'm very, very passionate about meditation. Whilst on one hand, it can be seen as a miracle, and I really do believe in spirituality and science coming together as one. And I do believe, so from your opinion, and you being the person that's been through this, especially from age 6, that's a very long time from age 6 to have these types and to be going through these types of things and then having these diagnoses. And as you say, you start to, believe it if you want to, because it's something that's been put on you. But from your opinion, I know that you say meditation, and I was going to ask you, what was that wake up moment for you? Because we all have them. We all have those wake up moments when we go, we don't need to be like this anymore, and we get to transform it. So firstly, what was your wake up moment? And secondly, in your opinion, what do you think, was it more miracle, or was it, what do you think it was that allowed you to recover?
Well, it's really interesting, if I look back at the journey, it was really interesting because I was really locked into the mind that I had to see it to believe it type
Mhm.
personality. So what led me to meditation, if I go back a little bit, because I was dealing with multiple sclerosis, I was really constantly fatigued. So, getting around was always a challenge. So I was a couch potato. I watched everything and anything on TV.
Mm.
So I used to watch ghost hunting shows, but I didn't know if it was real or fake. It was TV. I figured it was probably scripted or something. But anyway, I saw a tweet from one of these ghost hunters about an event that was in Philadelphia where I was living at the time. Is like, oh, I can go to that and we can see if there's really ghosts or whatever. I'm not really sure. Let's get my cane. Let's get everything together and book a hotel near the place because late at night I'm not gonna be able to drive after the event.
Yeah.
So I had an experience at this ghost hunt. I had a few experiences there that defied logic, but the one that really stood out to me, because I was there in this event sitting on a bench, right? Then I felt somebody sitting next to me that I could not physically see.
Wow. Yeah.
So I felt somebody sitting next to me and they weren't there, but when they sat down next to me, that was wild. Then I just felt this overwhelming sense of dread
Mm.
because this area where I was actually a prison for Civil War prisoners in this area at the Fort Mifflin, the casemates. So so after that event, it's like, wow, that was interesting. What did I experience? So then I read a book about mediums. I figure I'll read a book from a medium because they supposedly talk to the dead people. So let me read a book from a medium and see what they have to say about that. Well, in this book, they talked about, how they use meditation to get into their space or whatever. But they talked about the benefits of meditation. That was my inner peace. So the
Mhm.
ghost hunt led me to meditation, which is inner peace. But the big thing that really changed it for me was to realize that aha moment, to realize I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts.
Yeah.
Because remember, in my 20s, I nearly killed myself twice by
Yeah.
taking my thoughts as truth.
Mm.
And like I said, my psychiatrist never once said to me, why are your thoughts true?
Yeah.
So I was completely identified with thoughts. And when I was no longer identified and I saw that, thought chasing thought, then I realized, wait a second, if I'm
Mhm.
aware of my thoughts, I'm not my thoughts.
Well, that's right. Yeah,
So
100%.
so if I'm not my thoughts, then asking that question, who am I? And then sitting with that question and
Mm.
just hearing that voice or intuitive voice, I'm not really sure how you want to describe it, but it's very clear, sitting with the question, well, who am I? And I just heard a voice say, perfect spirit. I'm
Mm.
like, that's it. My spirit is perfect, pure, whatever you wish to call it. That
Yeah.
spirit, that soul isn't touched by the human experience. We are the eternal light, you could say.
Mm. Absolutely. I think that that's really, really powerful too for viewers and for people who are going through this, who have injuries and have sustained injuries. I myself sustained an injury. I had VZV, zoster meningitis, in 2014. And I was very, very sick. I nearly died. I was in a partial coma, and I sustained nerve S1 damage to my spine. And for a very long time, as I was on different medications, going through physiotherapy, all that sort of stuff. And it's funny how you are absolutely right. You get to this point where, one, you don't like the look of your life. And then secondly, it's like you're searching for something more. And I do believe that if you search hard enough and if you start to put in the work for what you're searching for, because we know, right, that just sitting there and going, oh, I wish for my life to be different, it doesn't work that way. We definitely have to put in the work and do those things. And it sounds like you were searching. You had been searching and you wanted it to be different.
Yes, but for me, it wasn't possible. I
Mm.
wouldn't say I was searching. To me, it wasn't possible. The only
Yeah.
thing that opened that crack in the door was meditation creates inner peace. That's
Yes.
what really opened the doors. Like, I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed, I need a little bit of peace in my life. And that
Mm.
was the quest for me. I was never really searching. If anything, I was reading more things about my diagnosis and the pills and the side effects, which was keeping me more ingrained in that story, as opposed to, I wasn't really looking at, energy healers or anything like that, because it wasn't my world. And
Yeah.
I see a lot of this today where it's still not a lot of people's world. There's a group on Facebook for migraines. There's 80,000 members in there. None of them are looking for a spiritual path. Everything
Yeah.
I see in there is about medicine and treatment. They're not looking in an alternative way. And that's
Mm.
where I was too, was locked in that medicine is the way. And I put all my faith and trust in the doctors, but my health was going down, 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 because I wasn't stepping into my own essence, my own power. I was giving it away, but I wasn't aware that I was giving it away.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. And I think that we do that a lot in so much that we do. And what I love about meditation is that it's teaching you to be the observer, right? We don't get ingrained and engulfed into all of the stuff that's going on around us. Just standing by and just watching it, be the observer, training the mind. And I think the quest for peace brings with it more than just, you know, I heard something a little while ago. I was listening to Fleet Moore, and it was a meditation and mindfulness summit. And on there, the saying was maybe live with ease, because things happen in life and we don't always get to control it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that when we allow things to control us and to determine our fate, like you say, this is where we are giving our power away. Um, so yeah, it's really, really inspiring. But so how long have you been fit now, Baba Sam?
Yeah, I've been healthy since 2012. So 2025. So it's going to be 13 years. I
Yeah.
I just had lots of weird experiences over my healing journey.
Mm.
So I really don't like to talk about too much, because people expect those kind of things as well, but we're not really sure how life unfolds.
Yeah.
So I was in this yoga pose, my feet up in the air, and inversion pose on the last day in November. I remember this distinctly because this weird energy just left the body when the feet were up in the air. So December 1st, it was very clear to me when I woke up that night in November, I just felt different after yoga class, when that energy left the body, whatever that was. But when I
Mm.
woke up December 1st, wherever I looked, there I was. There was no separation. And that's what I see today, that everything is interconnected, everything is intertwined. There's really no separation. But we try to separate ourselves with the mind, this individual persona. But I really got the clarity that like December 1st, like everything was officially, I felt like that was my healing journey was done. It was like, this part of the journey is done now. Now I'm getting an experience of oneness. And that was very difficult to function. I was in that state for about 2 weeks. Well, and it was very confusing, because wherever I looked, there I was. There was absolutely no separation. But it does feel like a different phase of the journey, because I would say that we're never done the journey. It's a
Mm.
constant
Correct.
journey.
Yeah.
Because it's always like we clear one mountain and there's always another mountain
Yes.
behind it. And that life still continues. There's still challenges in life. It's like the challenges just don't go away. You do have this ease about you. You're not so reactive anymore, because
Mm.
you've trained that mind not to be so reactive. You're sort of like, you're more chill. Like, I know right now that all is well and always is well,
Mm.
regardless of the mind's opinion, because the spirit within us is always at ease. It's not stressed, it's not worried, because the spirit is the observer, and that ultimately is us. So I like to remind individuals, when you're at peace, you're at ease, you're really aligned to who you really are.
Yeah. And having faith in that higher purpose, right? That the universe, whatever you believe, but it's all happening, and you get to make it what you would like it to be. Yeah, most definitely. So, I've got so much that I want to ask you, because I find all of this just so interesting, and I really love your story. Are you ever Do you ever get scared? And this
No.
is me peeling to the human side. Yeah, yeah. You never think to yourself, I might fall back to that, or it might come back again. How do you maneuver through life now? I know that you do a meditation, etc. But tell me a bit more about your mindset, because mindset matters so much too.
Yeah, ever since I heard that voice and that feeling, that deep sense of peace, and just the knowing that all is well,
Mm,
regardless of the mental opinion. And then I
mm,
heard the voice in 2011. It was just like that constant reassurance from spirits that, well, the mind might not like the current situation. From the spiritual level, all is well. It's helping us to evolve, to grow, because ultimately we're here to expand consciousness.
yes, correct. Yeah.
So there's really nothing to be afraid of. The mind might want to panic for a moment, but then you're just like, it's just a story. It's a mental story. Everything's okay. And that can be a little challenging sometimes, that all is well, regardless of what is happening. And the
Mm,
mind will try to grab you once in a while, but I live in that state that all is well, and holding that vibration of peace, of love, whatever you wish to call it. It is different because I am in New York City, and we made an adventure into Bronx, which we don't do anymore in New York City because it's very dangerous in the Bronx. But I
yes.
was there with my wife, and she said, there's like a really sketchy guy over there. Is he going to mug us? And I just held the vibration of peace and love, and he just walked away.
Mm, yeah. And this is even, the Buddhists. So I should have posted a while ago. I'll have to look it up and send it to you. And it was about all of the monks and all of the children being brought up in the monasteries. There were thousands of them. And they had all gathered, and they were all simply repeating a mantra. And that night, world crime dropped by it was something like 64%. Absolutely astounding. So I'm a true believer in what you're saying, and everything is energy, and what we put out we invite in. I know that there are those people that are very science orientated, and what I love is that this work is now working its way into like neurosomatic mindfulness. I wonder as well, as you're telling me your story, and I'm listening to what started to happen when you started to take the steps, and you were meditating and looking, as you say, for that peace. I'm also wondering if perhaps, Baba Sam, I don't know what your psychiatrist said, or what the was it a neurosurgeon that you were seeing, or was it neurologist?
Yeah, I actually had three neurologists, one for migraine and two for multiple sclerosis. So I
Yes,
saw one, I canceled most doctor's appointments, but I made that one last neurologist appointment and got all the tests before I saw him.
yeah.
And he was just completely puzzled.
I wonder if by chance you also perhaps had started to rewire your brain, the neurons and all of those things that intertwine, and subconsciously, communicate with the body. What do you have any thoughts on that? Or,
Yeah, I know through my experience of those 14, 15 months, I was rewired. It was
mm,
I don't talk about this too much because I want people to get hung up that I need to have this process as well, because we have
yes.
to realize that there's no one size fits all. So what I go through may not be necessary for you.
Mm,
So I really don't like to talk about that because, oh, you had that, that's why you have this. And
yeah.
there's no correlation like that. So one of the
Mm,
things I went through was a full Kundalini awakening. That's when the energy, the kunda sitting at the base of the spine, it goes through the chakras and out to the universe, and it descends back down into the prana shakti and all that technical stuff, but I was having a full Kundalini awakening, which was not a pleasant experience. But I didn't realize this is just where spirit was just taking me. Okay, your body went through MS, it went through all this stuff. We need to do some things here. So I felt like it was constantly being struck by lightning when I was going through that process.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So even like January now, like it's normally cold, this time of year and here in America. But when I was going through the process, and I guess that was, beginning of 2012, end of 2011, beginning of 2012, I was going through that process. And I remember January just sitting inside, just sweating, just sweat pouring off me because I felt like I was on fire being struck by lightning. But I still had that sense that all is well. I'm just being rewired.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And it has, all of this stuff has potential. Of course, every person is different. Every person's challenges are different. Every person, whether you're looking for healing, peace, whatever it may be, I think all of these things come into play, and the decisions that we're making for ourselves. Baba Sam, if you were speaking to someone now that was in a similar position to you, or had an injury perhaps that had occurred, perhaps through life, and we know that it happens a lot, but in your, what would you be saying to them?
Yeah, it's just like, well, recently I was working with someone with Parkinson's, pretty advanced Parkinson's. And, he still has this kind of belief system that he's incurable, that he's stuck with this for the rest of his life. And I led him through my process, and I just asked him a question. Did your spirit tell you that you were incurable? And he said, no. Because it didn't, that incurable is always outside of us. But we have
Yeah.
to realize that we are spirit, that we are consciousness itself. The consciousness created the galaxies, the universe, everything that we see. So nothing is impossible to spirit if we can listen and really trust that voice. And that's where the difficulties come, trusting that voice. Because like where I was second guessing myself when I get off that MS medicine. So it's really, really have to have this deep, deep trust, because spirit isn't giving you reasons or explanations, just like do this, do that, with no justification, just do those steps. And I think if we can really learn to trust that intuitive voice, it will lead us to where we need to go. And you said something very interesting I want to talk about. If we're looking for healing, if you're looking for healing and you're focused on healing, there's a good chance you won't heal, because that becomes what I call a mental interference. The mind's getting in the way of the steps that spirit needs you to take. So what my whole process is, I want you to go beyond the mind, beyond all this head trash, and really step into who you are, because that's where the real instructions are coming from. The real steps are from within you. If we're in this healing journey, we're following a recipe from the mind that may not be in aligned with your spirit. So my whole thing is, I want you to go beyond the head trash and step into who you really are. So my whole process is energetically erasing this stuff and get you to feel who you are. So what I bring people into is a state of deep, deep peace through my process. I said, even meditators that come to me say, I never felt this kind of peace before. Well, my process is, I want you to root into your spirit, your soul, so you have an anchor, so you know what that feels like. So when you get back into that state and you get these steps, then you know your recipe. And the mind may come along. You just have to go back and do this. And it's really interesting how the mind behaves. Like if I take somebody like in a really extreme level of pain, like an 8, 9, 10 level of pain, and I can get them down to a 2, 3 in my session with them, then I know there's a mental component to that. So what will happen if there's a mental component? Sometimes that will stay at 2, 3 and may continue to diminish. But most of the time the mind will say, hey, something's different. Where did my pain go? And it will drag it back. So they'll keep listening to these meditations to keep chipping away of that mental story. But if I'm working with somebody that's an 8, 9, 10 level pain, and I can't get them below a 5, then I know, okay, there's a physical component here. You still need the medical system. You still need help. I can only take you so far. There's still limitations within the body that need to be corrected. Because we usually say pain is an indication that something else is going on in the body. But if I know, if I go from a 10 to a 3, there is a mental component here. But they're always at a 2, 3. There might be something going on in the physical, but I've witnessed so many people going from a 10 to a 3. It's just amazing how much the mind interferes. So I really don't like people to go on healing journeys because it's mental interference. Even one of my groups is you heal yourself without trying to heal yourself.
Mm.
I really want people to focus on inner peace, because inner
Yes.
peace means you're aligned to spirit, who you really are. And then we can find that way. But our greatest addiction is addiction to our thoughts. So we need to break that thought addiction and really step into us, because our thoughts are guessing. And it's usually based on a past experience or something that you read or saw outside of you. It wasn't coming from within you. Like I asked that Parkinson's person, did your spirit tell you you were incurable? And he said no. So it came from an exterior source. And I've witnessed so many things that defy logic, because we are spirit, and spirit doesn't conform to human rules.
Absolutely. I mean, we still can't explain what consciousness is.
Mm.
There are still these parts of humanity, and these really, really deep parts, and we cannot explain some of them. So do you mind just for a moment sort of giving me or just sharing an exercise or a way to continue to try, like, okay, so you're going through your day and you find that your thoughts are starting to come in. I'm someone who has my own type of OCD with my thought processes. So how are we shifting this? What is the day? What is the practice? What is the way to go about it?
The simplest way to realize is that we're either in our thoughts or we're here in this moment. So the simple practice is, when the mind starts really going off on a tangent, where are your feet? Where are you sitting? Most people listening right now may not even be aware that they're sitting. And it's just that simple fact, we're either in the mind or we're here.
Yeah.
And it's really that simple. Like one of my greatest benefit for me was never having a spiritual teacher that give me all these sorts of rules and processes, because spirit doesn't require any of that. It's just a matter of just sitting still, being quiet, and being present, being here in this moment. It's all very simple. All the great Indian sages would always say, sit still and be quiet. And that's really my teaching as well, is sit still, be quiet. And we can go through some energetic practices that could jumpstart the things, because I really don't have any prescribed formulas for anyone. I just want to take you beyond your head trash and help you remember who you are. And then you have your recipe. I don't have your recipe. No one outside of you has your recipe. Only you have your recipe.
Yeah, I love that, because there is a lot of that these days, I think, where everything is very put out for you, and it should be this way and it should be that way. So it's very refreshing to speak to someone who has quite a different viewpoint to it all. And you are right, because, living in flow, or being in a flow state, is there any rule to that? No, that there's not. It's definitely about what is happening on the inside and the introspection of things. So, Baba Sam, if someone would like to, do you do anything online?
Yeah, I have my online community, because I
Yeah.
do like my group coaching in the Vibrant Soul Society. And I'm there like 2 or 3 times a week doing these events. And next week's a healing circle called The Lighthouse. We forget we are the lighthouse, and we are the light itself, but we're seeking outside of ourselves, thinking that the light's out there someplace, forgetting that, this vessel is the lighthouse and the consciousness is the light.
Yeah.
So we're constantly, so I'm doing that. Then I'm doing some energy alchemy the week after that. Then I do these spiritual transmissions and things of that nature. So I'm always in these groups, my private community, and they can work one-on-one with me as well, where I go beyond that head trash and we do a specific meditation that's specific to them, because I'm blending or merging with their soul and giving them a soul perspective from their point of view, like what's going to get them rooted into their true nature and what's going to resonate with them. And then energetically just seeing those blocks as well, because he's talked before, we are ultimately energy and frequency, our particles and waves at the quantum level, but we get so tied into this form, and it's really not real, if you will. It's really like we think some things are solid, but they're not solid. Like after I went through the Kundalini experience, nothing appears solid to me anymore. Everything vibrates. So it's one of the things that has happened to me was like, nothing is solid anymore. I can just look around and like everything has a different vibration. It's a different way of living. And it's still a little surreal after being sick for so long. I was like, I don't have any physical limitations anymore. That doesn't make sense. And it's just really, really an odd place to be. But to remember that we just need to go beyond our mental stories, all these beliefs that we have. And we have so many beliefs. And I really want to remind people that our greatest addiction is addiction to our thoughts. And our thoughts are not the truth. They're truth based on some limited perspective, but they did not originate from spirit.
Yeah, our thoughts are very, very powerful. And our brain, I think our brain is much more powerful than we give it credit for. And if there's anyone that's watching here that is into, manifestation and I think getting out of your head, isn't that? Really getting out of your head. And that's a very, very tough thing to do when you've been stuck in it for so long, and the way that the brain wires itself for certain scenarios and things that you've been through in life. So it's definitely a daily practice and something that continues on. I've used that word and I find it very interesting as well in this conversation, because I've used healing for a very long time. And even on my own journey, it's been a lot about healing. And yet within that, I've always said, to reach peace, just to have peace, to have a peaceful way of being, a peaceful way of just venturing per se through life, where you're not necessarily looking for anything, but whatever comes, you are always, peaceful. So it's really, really insightful. And it comes down again, as you say, all of these things that we're applying in life. What does so obviously, I mean, you still have challenges because you're still human, right? In those times that you're experiencing challenges, no matter what form they may come in, what sorts of things are you doing apart from being in the moment and understanding that this too shall pass?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. I just want to back up a little bit because I have different insights on manifestation as well.
Yes.
We have to realize we are spirit, we are soul, and knows exactly what you want, and it's trying to bring that to you. The mind's always blocking. So we get the mind out of the way, these things will naturally come to you. So if you're really focused on manifestation, you're doing all these practices, you're just creating more mental interference. Your spirit knows exactly what you want. Get out of the way. So it's really...
So what you're saying is it's basically whatever you want to focus on is what your mind will shift to, just that. It's kind of like you got blinkers on and it's just that thing that you're on instead of just being open.
Right. It's about being open. So when I'm facing challenges, it's just being open. It's like, where am I blocking the flow? Because it's always mental interference. So if you have any issues in our life, it's because of our belief system or mental interference getting in the way. So it's just a matter of, the best thing we can do is to relax. And there's no rules to relaxation. And just to relax, be at peace, and be in that flow state. And yes, there are challenges. We do have to feed ourselves. We do have bills to pay. There is this human experience. So it's to realize, we can't always sit in this place of peace. We are here for the human experience. So I don't sit for hours a day in meditation. I have done that before, but I'm here for the human experience. So my meditation is 10 minutes a day. That's it. That's all I need, just to to ground, to center, to see if I picked up any beliefs that aren't serving me or other kind of assorted trash that we pick up throughout the day. And it's just really about relaxing and enjoying life to the best of our ability. It's always one of the things I read about that really resonated with was the Bhagavad Gita, where it talks about, you focus at the task at the hand, focus on the task at hand and not the fruits, not the rewards. Just focus on this moment. What can you do in this moment to the best of your ability and not worry about the outcome, let go of any expectations. Just do your best in this moment and you'll be surprised at all the synchronicity. It just happens.
Yes. Yeah. What you're saying is very true. Very, very true. I think, and it's one of these things, right, where we might know it, but we can't. Sometimes I just want to say to people, just try this way, but you can't, right? Because people have to. Do you think perhaps that we're here for this reason, Baba Sam, to figure this out, to figure out that it's just being?
Yeah, it's just to realize we're here to just be and enjoy the human experience. And when you're trying to figure something out, you're actually creating mental interference. So there's nothing you need to figure out. Realize I healed myself and I didn't figure anything out. I just followed that deeper voice, do this, do that. And I just trusted that voice, except for that one instance when I was getting off the MS medicine where I had the doubts. Then the universe forced my hand a little bit in that situation. But it's really to understand that there is nothing to figure out. Everything is already within you. Are you listening? Are you paying attention? And are you trusting yourself? The biggest challenge people have is trusting themselves. They're constantly told, we know what's best for you. Trust us. Instead of trust you. You know what's best for you. You inhabit this body. This is your human experience. What's best for you is best for you.
Yeah, well, even for myself, in every conversation I have, I learn something. And what I'm taking from this, because for myself, it's challenging. I've always been someone who's been quite a critic and an analyzer. And even with, my past employment, what I used to do, and then, what I was getting into before my life shifted, everything was always analyzing and critiquing and going deeper. And searching for answers, and I've really of late been more intentionally. And the other thing is, I understand that now when we're really concentrating on trying to be a certain way, we're focusing on that. But of late, I've really been just saying to myself, just let it be, Michaela. Just let it flow. Just let it be. It is what it is. You don't get to change it. You don't get to. You just are who you are, and you do your best in what you can, right? But overthinking, and I really think society has made us that way, to live in this survival mode, and to think, and I suppose calculate our next steps.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're always in this swaying back and forth between the two. And yet it's so amazing how much, if not all of the population, is looking for peace of some kind.
Yeah, we all need inner peace. We're all dealing with too much stress. We're all overthinking. We're taught through school to figure things out, and it's not very useful. And having this human experience that we're just getting in the way. And it's really this mental interference. That's the way I call it, because our spirit already has all the steps to live your ideal life. It knows exactly what you want, and it's trying to bring it to you. And it's trying to pull things out of you that aren't serving you. And the mind is creating this force field, if you will, this energetic field around you. Nope, we're not bringing this in. And nope, this isn't leaving you. This is what you're stuck with, because we get ingrained in this overthinking and not relaxing. And a lot of people don't know how to relax today. They're always distracted. They're always busy. And I get into these challenges as well, as being a solo entrepreneur. Is like, I got to do this, got all these things that you have to be done, and it keeps you very busy. And it's like, all right, and it's just that's also the challenge of the day. It's like, all right, I got to do all this stuff, and we make it work, and it's okay. Everything's unfolding as it needs to unfold, and we let go of those things that aren't serving us. And I see life as a constant experiment, a constant, trial and error. Like we do this, we do that, and what resonates with us is that path that we have to follow. But it comes down to trusting yourself that we know what is best for us.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Very, very insightful. Yeah. I would very much, well, Brother Sam, firstly, I'd very much like to have you back in the new year just to talk a bit more about just the different ways of being, I suppose, and ways that we can do, because I think that there are a lot of people that would really benefit from this, including in the way of, I was just reading a post this morning about our phones and what distractions they are and how much time we spend,
Mm-hmm.
and is there a type of, I know that I might be getting into conspiracy type thing here, but is there a type of manipulation that happens? And I'm forever questioning these things, because sitting quietly, there are so many answers when we sit quietly. There is so much knowledge that we already have, and we are just so distracted and just being and doing and all of those things. Um, are you able to just quickly perhaps walk us through a really simple exercise of just getting into ourselves?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, because they realize, the society realizes, we're given dopamine hits constantly that feel
Mhm.
good inside
Correct.
chemicals. So that's what the distractions are. They're just dopamine hits, and it gets addictive. The mind wants that, and it just keeps going for those hits instead of finding that joy and peace within us. So yeah, a simple practice is, I was saying, it's about being present and just sit here now. Realize you're sitting, your feet are on the ground, and let go of any rules, any requirements to relaxation. So we're just relaxing here with nothing to do, nothing to accomplish. And we're just going to sit here and relax. Then when we have the impulse to do something, then we do that. And we just wait for that impulse, because most of the time we're doing things that aren't beneficial to our journey. They're not really necessary. So we find that impulse from spirit to go do this, to go do that. And it may make no logical sense. You may have a sense to go pick up some book you haven't seen for a while, and you land on the perfect page of something that you need, that spirit is trying to convey to you. Or you just flip through the TV and you land on a program that's speaking about something that you're dealing with right now, that we just have to start trusting ourselves more and just realize, look of all the rules, all the requirements, and just relax.
Mm.
Find that way where you can just sit peacefully and just sit peacefully. And this is very hard for people to do, just sit peacefully, because that's what they found out in the early prisons in Philadelphia. People that were in solitary confinement went crazy because they
Yeah.
couldn't deal with themselves. They
Yeah.
couldn't sit still and be quiet. And this is
Mm.
before all the technology in the 1700s.
Mm.
So, it's very hard to sit with yourself. So even
Mhm.
if you start with 30 seconds, a minute, and then when you can't sit anymore, you get up, because you don't want to entertain the mental story. You just want to
Yes.
get up and actually be physically active. And I tell
Mm.
people, when you're meditating, if you can't bring yourself back to presence, get up and do something else. Don't force it, because you're just going
Yeah.
to make the mental story stronger. So for people to say, start meditation with a half hour to an hour, I say, that's way too long, especially if you're just starting.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. That is my brain.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, you really, like, I started with 5 minutes, and it was just really realizing eventually, after the first week, I was chasing thoughts with thoughts. So then I
Mhm.
realized, even if you're sitting for 5 minutes and you only pull yourself back into presence, that's perfect. Every time you bring yourself back into presence, you put another gap into the thought stream. The more gaps, the more inner peace. That's all we're doing. So if you're in a checkout line, you're driving is a great one. Have you ever driven someplace and you have no idea how you got in there? Because you
Yeah.
weren't here. It was the subconscious driving.
You're in another, yeah, it's like you're in a flow state, or I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean though. Yeah.
But you realize when you're driving, feel the steering wheel, and really be aware of all the sensations, just learning, keep yourself present. Because this is one of the things, as you get older, the subconscious will drive for you. You can just get onto your mental tangents and the subconscious will take over. This is why younger people get into more accidents. The subconscious hasn't fully developed the program. So when you're in a mind distracted, the subconscious programming isn't all there. So when you're driving for 15, 20 years, you really root it into a lot of different subconscious programming and different scenarios that you don't have after 2, 3 years of driving. So as time progresses, the subconscious programming gets stronger, which also gets to the interesting story. When you're sick for 30 plus years, all that deep subconscious programming in there that has to be rooted out.
It's kind of like you are, if you could say, relearning. I say this to myself quite often. It's okay, Michaela, you're relearning new ways of being. When you've been stuck in certain ways for so long, if you want to refer to it as that, or whatever you want to look at it as. A lot of people say too, you're now becoming so much more consciously aware that you are literally able to see yourself from a different lens. Like out of body experiences. I don't know, whatever you want to explain it as. But yeah, you're right. And it's funny that, you mentioned the car, because straight away what you made me think about too is, as you've been driving for years and years, you're also able to predict another driver, like what the other driver is going to do, right? It's kind of, absolutely. Wow, really interesting stuff. Yeah.
So you get that after years, not after 2, 3. So that's why you're more prone to get an accident when you're younger, because all that program hasn't been established yet. You haven't seen all these scenarios, these near misses that you picked up, and you can sort of guess what people are going to be doing in front of you. Oh, I know. See, he's driving. He's going to make a sharp left out of nowhere, or he's going to do this.
100%.
You start to pick up on that because you see the behavior, you see what they're doing in front of you, and yeah, it's really interesting I just really like to sit and just watch people too. It's always fun. And you can really see a lot of people aren't really here. They're not really in this moment. They're elsewhere. They're elsewhere. They're in the story of the day.
And it's also amazing. We're going to have to come to an end soon, Baba Sam, but it's also amazing, I think, just on this, how many people I see that are in crisis, but instead of sitting with themselves and wondering, okay, how do I maneuver this, or just being, how quickly it is to distract, let's get away, let's go to the next party, let's go and, do this, the distractions. We're never actually in that moment doing that thing. And then also the synchronicities of the problems that we have. And this clicked with me about 2 years ago, where I looked at my life and I was like, wow, why does this keep repeating for me? And it was only once I started to learn that it shifted. It's as if the thing just keeps coming back in cycles until you learn, and then it's on to the next thing. But being is a state, for sure, a state of mind. Just quickly, how did you get the name Baba, like the title Baba Sam?
It just came from spirit. Baba basically is a spiritual teacher, self-realized spiritual teacher. It's just basically knowing who you are beyond thoughts, beyond the body, knowing yourself as spirit, as soul. And I'm pretty rooted into that state. I really don't get so caught up in the human story anymore. It still happens a little bit. Things happen. Life gets challenging. But it's just a practice. Life is a constant practice. It's not perfection. It's a practice. You just notice when the mind's engaging you, it's like, oh, you come back to this moment. Because we all get pulled in these stories. You just, with practice, you just learn to take back control quicker.
Yeah. I asked that as well because I was like Baba, the title Baba, and I see that, I don't know which culture it is, but it came up with a blessed one, or a blessed one. Someone that is blessed. And so I thought to myself, I wonder if you spent some time where I must ask you this question whilst we're doing this.
Yeah, because it is a blessing when you know yourself and you can step out of the stories. It's really a blessing, because I still look back at my human journey. It's surreal that I was sick and disabled for so long. And to have this healthy body is like, wow, just hearing that voice, whatever that voice was, my intuition, a guide, an angel, God, who knows what that voice is. No one can really say what that voice is, but just remembering who we are, that we are perfect spirit, or pure spirit, or consciousness, that energy of the universe. We are that. We are the life force that animates this body. And if people don't understand that you're not the body, you had a toddler body, a teenage body, a young adult body. You had all these changing bodies throughout your life. But yet the one who sees through the eyes has never changed. So realize you are the observer. You're the one looking. You're not all those bodies.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So much more than that. Yeah, so this is really, really interesting. Baba Sam, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that whoever's watching this and whoever is watching, I can't actually see who's watching, but thank you so much for joining us and tuning in, and whoever watches the replay. Baba Sam, can I ask you to just go onto the Trauma Network, if you don't mind, and in the comments, just leave your website, Beyond Head Trash, where to reach you, if anyone would
Yeah.
like. Which would be absolutely amazing. And in the new year, perhaps you could come back and we could definitely discuss some more really amazing things here, because this sort of stuff, I think, it's like it's making way, in living and just being, but also the healing properties that come with this, and you are truly, I mean, I say that you're a walking miracle, but at the same time, I'm also a very great believer in everything that you have said today and the way that the brain works and all those things. So thank you so much for sharing your
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure to be here. And just to remember for people listening is be curious. I think we lost a lot of curiosity in our life. Like, why is that true for you? Be
Mm,
curious, dive in, look at things, and stop taking things at face value. Like, I
yeah.
had all this information coming at me, but I never said, well, why is that true? Why is
Mm,
that true for me?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Remain curious, guys. Thanks,
Yep,
Baba
keep good.
Sam.
All right. Take good care. Bye for now.
Bye. And Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Yep.